What are actually the root causes of mass atrocities and violations of the rights of religious and ethnic groups?
Yeah, I mean, I think in any situation where you have atrocities being committed, there has to be a certain level of dehumanization that has to take place beforehand in order for people to actually be convinced to carry out attacks on their fellow countrymen. There has to be something that convinces them that these people are inferior to you, and that that kind of makes violence possible. And so I think the kind of longer patterns of hate speech very much played a facilitating role in allowing these kind of attacks to take place. If you look at the Iraqi curriculum, for example, a lot of Iraqis from the majority groups just don't know very much about minority religions because they're either just not mentioned in the curriculum, or they're portrayed in very stereotypical or very kind of simplified ways. So I think even just starting with education is very important for just breaking down some of these simple stereotypes and kind of building a more cohesive national identity.
What may be the role of civil society?
I think the role of civil society is really crucial here. What we've seen in Iraq, we've been working there since 2005. At the time of the US-led invasion, civil society was really quite weak because there wasn't a very strong history of civil society organizing under the Ba'ath regime. Since then, we've seen a really impressive expansion in Iraqi civil society. And it's really remarkable how, in a context where there's, as I said, a widespread impunity and kind of a lack of attention and a marginalization of minorities kind of generally in terms of government and that kind of thing, it's really civil society groups who are there representing minorities. In terms of political representation, there are a few guaranteed seats for minorities in the Iraqi parliament, but I mean, many view this as not really enough because when you have a political system that's so heavily dominated by the three groups in almost every other way, not only in parliament but in terms of public service and jobs, it's very difficult for one Yazidi representative in parliament to really have any kind of effective voice or to be able to be a voice for change. So there's a need for much more for political representation to also be backed up by representation in the job market and things like that. I mean, one of the few kind of bright sides of the conflict is that a lot of people now are aware of minorities in Iraq and are aware of what happened, and so there is kind of commitment to making sure this doesn't happen again, and to making sure that minorities are viewed as equal partners and important partners in the future of Iraq, and that they're included in peace building and different initiatives. So I know that there are many civil society organizations who are doing exactly that kind of work, bringing people together, making sure that the voices of minorities, women, youth as well, are being heard in these kind of discussions that are going forward. And I think that's a positive thing. And I just hope that it's goes beyond just the local level and it becomes kind of an example for national level governance as well.
What role can education play?
Education is obviously a really crucial area of intervention, and it should always be a really important part of the kind of post-conflict transition towards hopefully a more peaceful society. Unfortunately, what we've seen in some other countries in the region is that after a period of conflict, the kind of natural tendency is to say, okay, well, the conflict is over now, we're going to pretend that we're all happy now, and we're going to kind of ignore what happened and have a new curriculum that just treats us all as equals, and we won't talk about the past. That's obviously has some shortcomings because in order to really heal from the past, you also need to be able to talk about it and to be honest about what happened and to be able to talk about religious difference and ethnic difference. And I think the kind of invisibility of minorities in the curriculum in Iraq is it's a big problem, and it has been a problem. So what I would like to see in the future is more just more visibility, not only of minorities but also participation of minorities in the actual process of redeveloping school curriculums to make them more inclusive and to make sure that minorities' histories, their religions, their customs and cultures are actually reflected in a representative and accurate way, and that they're being portrayed in a way that's true to their own self-identity.